Hey everybody, I'm Nick Von Walkerbarth and you're listening to the Von Dubcast. I like to do a little bit of intro where I talk about what's happening in my life, a little bit of background on the guest, what I felt going into the interview, what I thought of the interview, and just whatever else is going on. If you'd like to jump right to the interview, you can skip to 24 minutes. If not, we have one sponsor and we'll get right into it. Today's episode is brought to you by Freshie in Grand Prairie. Freshie is it's kind of like a mixture between fast food and health food. It's quick, it's easy, and you get delicious, healthy food. It's a pillar in my journey to try and be healthy. It's usually sometimes the only thing I do that's healthy in a day, but it's always there for me and I really enjoy it. If you're ever in GP, please stop by and check them out. Hey everybody, Merry Christmas. You're listening to the Von Dubcast. It's episode 115 and our guest today is Cory Cross. It's actually his second appearance on the Von Dubcast. Cory played over a decade in the NHL for lots of teams, saw a lot of shit, and has a lot of stories to tell. And what is greatest to me is just that even though he's been around the block and he's, accomplished things that most people just dream of, he's still really down to earth, is a great guy to talk to. I get to bullshit a little bit before and after the podcast with these guests, and you get a real sense of who they are when, the camera's not on. And Cory is just as generous and kind as you guys will hear on the episode. But, even when the cameras aren't on, that's who he is. And I think that's awesome to hear. I think it's easy to forget these days because everyone's highlighting kind of that online persona of how, everyone's greedy and everyone's bad and everyone's at each other's throats. And I think with this podcast and these longer conversations I get to have, you really get to get a strong reminder that in the real world, that's not how people are. People are awesome. And I think these conversations just speak to that. We talked a lot about, how the game has changed, what we're seeing these days, a bit of that hockey culture that has come up a couple times on the podcast. Obviously, it's a hockey podcast. You guys can get your whiskey or your beers out and do the Von Dubcast drinking game for how many times I mentioned spitting chiclets. I'm sure you'll get a good buzz on if you do that for this episode, as my buddy Fraser likes to remind me so eloquently all the time. But I really enjoyed recording this episode. I think you guys are going to enjoy it too. I get a real kick out of just being such a big NHL fan and having all these questions that would run through my mind of how it actually works behind the scenes. And then to get an opportunity like this where you get to ask those questions, God, it is just the coolest thing. I can't even explain to you guys how awesome it is. And you guys that are listening right now, you're the reason I get to do it. So just a huge thank you to Cory, a huge thank you to you listeners. It's awesome. I think you guys are going to love this episode. Other than that, I hope you guys had a great holiday. I'm just recording this on Boxing Day. Came down to Edmonton, had a beautiful Christmas Eve with the family, got to see all the grandkids, did a lot of wrestling, all that jiu-jitsu practice was really coming in handy when I had about 7 kids hanging off me at once, just throwing one over the shoulder, judo flips, you know how I roll. It was lots of fun. I missed those little buggers a ton, and it was so much fun just to see the whole family and just how we operate and how it's just nothing but jokes and chirps and the most savage things being said, but everyone, taking it nicely and laughing. There was no, not an ill word said, none of the things, like I said, that you if you spend too much time on the internet, what you'd expect to see at a family dinner. There was none of that. It was just all love and so nice to see so many people and all that jazz. Yeah. So, I hope you guys had just as enjoyable of a Christmas. If you didn't, I know I've mentioned this a couple of times, but I know Christmas can be a tough time for people, and maybe it brings back some tough memories. Maybe it just highlights and puts you into contact with people that get your blood pressure up a bit. I hope you're able to handle it with poise and grace, and I hope that you didn't fly off the handle too much. And if you did, fuck it, we've all been there. You know what? It happens. And next year will be another opportunity to try not to, and we can all go from there. But I'd be a hypocrite if I said I was never that person, or that's not quite common for myself either. Like always, we're sponsored by the Freshie in Grand Prairie. If you're ever up in Grand Prairie, I can't stress this enough. Freshie is a healthy food store that's quick, easy. The staff are awesome. I love going there. I'm so disappointed every time I go to another Freshie because they just don't live up to the standard that they do in Grand Prairie. The lady that runs it, she's just amazing, and she keeps her staff at a level that keeps me coming back. When I'm in Grand Prairie, I eat there at least once a day, every single day, if not more. And they just know when I'm coming in, they're just like, well, is it this order or this order? I know they usually have a couple things that I order, and they just kind of just need a small little push to know which order I'm getting, and they can build it all from there. They've been there so much. So shout out to them. Also has some other sponsorships in the works that I'm really excited about. I cannot wait. I know you guys are all excited. I've been getting lots of messages about that blockchain episode that I've been talking about with those two young gentlemen from Lacrete that have really jumped into this crypto world, and we just had an amazing conversation. I know I documented kind of who they are and what we talked about a little bit on some of the podcasts, and I've been getting tons of messages asking, when's it going to be out? When's it going to be out? It's going to be out soon. I can't wait just as much as you guys. We just got a couple things in the background that we want to launch along with that episode. So we're just waiting for those things to fall into place. And I'm hoping by maybe even next week, maybe not, but hopefully by next week we can release that episode. I think you guys are going to love it. Yeah. Other than that, I think I need to do a solo episode one of these days because there's so much going on. And I think if I'm honest with you guys, I've been struggling a bit the last couple of months. I've been pretty depressed, and it's tough because I'm at the same time so happy with the move that I made into pursue this podcast full time. But I just have been in a bit of a funk, and it's hard to get motivated to do the things I need to do for the podcast, and that just eats at me because I know I have lists and lists of things that I need to do to take this podcast to the next level, and I just cannot get out of first gear to go after them. It's still kind of tough to get out of bed and all those things, and so much of it revolves around COVID and all the silly things going on around it and the feelings that it makes you. And I know this probably sounds ridiculous to so many people listening because they've, wow, I just got my shot, just go do that. And yeah, that's fine. And I understand that that's an option, and maybe that makes the feelings that I'm feeling seem a little bit odd to people, but for whatever reason, you can go back and forth about why you wouldn't do that. And I have a million times. I have whole episodes dedicated to where I stand and why I don't do that. But having said all that, just to see, again, this is all online. And like I said earlier in this intro that, the real world's a lot different than this, but man, does it suck to just be constantly barraged with propaganda that tells you you're a bad person and that you're, and just so easily lies and manipulates information and uses this word science to just absolutely beat people over the head with nonsense. And I think more and more you're seeing people wake up to that fact, and it just sucks to be. I'm in it for 2 years now. I realized right from the jump that there was so much bullshit going on, and had great resources in my life already. I'm so thankful that I put in the work prior to COVID to find really trustworthy source of information that are unhindered by money and sponsors. They'll say what they want to say and have no fear of it. I'm so thankful for that. But the unfortunate part is now, whereas some people have been, hey, the last couple of months this has just reached a fear point that I'm starting to question some stuff, and they're getting a little frustrated with it. It's like that's how I was in probably, I don't know, April, June of 2020. That's how I was already at that point. Now it's just been months and months and years it's turning into of the same things, and just it's so frustrating. But you think people have to realize this sooner or later that just so much of this doesn't add up, and if they would just give it a chance for a second, they could see that what they're being told, the other side's argument is not what it is at all. It's not conspiracy. It's not ridiculous. It's not anti-science. It's actually following the science and highlighting and actually looking at the studies and saying, when you build a world where randomized controlled trials is the only thing that you're going to let slide, even though that's never in the entire universe been how we operate, because science works in a bunch of different ways, and that's a great tool and we need to use it. But to frame everything as that's the only standard that we'll accept, and then through that, you can make, with controlled studies like that, you can make anything look like anything, and that's what you see happening. And then when you actually look at how they perform the studies and what they're using, and you can look right through it and understand that they had a predetermined outcome of what they wanted to do, and they design it to get that outcome, and then ignore every other piece of strong, solid evidence towards the contrary of what they're trying to put out into the world. It's frustrating. And there's amazing doctors. And again, I bring this up all the time, but Dark Horse Podcast, they just released another one just on the incredible degree to which vitamin D has an impact on this disease and how we need to be waking up to that. And everybody needs to be supplementing. And it's not the RDA, the recommended daily allowance or whatever. That's way too low. And they know that. And there's all this fear and propaganda about vitamin D overdose. That is their only backup to try and say, to push back against vitamin D, which take COVID completely out of it.
vitamin D deficiency is one of the leading like contributors to all-cause mortality, not just COVID, like any type of sickness. Your immune system needs vitamin D and needs it in really large quantities, especially up north where we live. We're not getting any vitamin D. We need to be supplementing. We need to take this seriously. We need to understand that. But for some reason, I guess the argument is that it would lead to vaccine hesitancy to talk about any other factor other than just the vaccines are going to keep you safe. But the vaccine tells your immune system how to fight a disease. If your immune system doesn't have the building blocks to actually function as an immune system, like vitamin D, like a million of the other things that, get healthy, get outside, it does nothing to you. You can have all the information on how to fight this disease with your immune system, but if your immune system's shit, you can't do anything. And that's what I'm really struggling against, because you would think that is so obvious that would be screamed from the rooftops. But for whatever reason, again, I guess the one reason I could kind of come up to with that makes the smallest bit of sense is that they think it would lead to vaccine hesitancy. But really, are we going to let people be hurt and let people suffer because of that? I don't know. I'm sure you guys don't want to hear about this, but I think it's tough because this means a lot to me, and I'm so hindered by this and just, like I want to go to some World Junior Games, and to know that I have to go to a government run program to get tested so that I know where I am, what I'm doing, pay your whatever dollars, even though I have 50 rapid tests sitting at home and I totally would, I have no problem testing before. I think we do, but to know that everybody rapid testing and just having test kits at home to go out and to make sure that we're safe was the solution from day one. And now to see them absolutely tear that solution down by bureaucratizing it. Is that a word? I don't know. Just putting stupid government bullshit in the way of it, where no, it does not any test, just where you have to come get our test and you have to pay money to us to get this, and only has to do it for the unvaccinated. That makes no sense. You can still carry, you can still transmit if you're vaccinated. And like the things like vitamin D and treatments like vax or unvax, it doesn't matter. You want that stuff. You want to know. Everybody should be well aware of the 9 or 10 amazing treatments we have for COVID, where if you do get sick, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, you want these treatments and you want to be aware of them so you can advocate for yourself and tell your doctors, hey, I want this. This is help people. This is what I want. I don't care if I have the protection of the vaccine. I want to be treated if I catch this, right? Like between all that, the fact that if I put this video on YouTube, and luckily, this is another sad part, I accidentally deleted the video for this podcast, which absolutely killed me. I'm over it now because it happened about a week ago, but it's still kicking myself. But if I was to put this video up on YouTube, I get taken down just for what I'd say. Talking about treatments get you taken down. Talking about natural immunity will get you taken down. Talking about vitamin D and how important it is for your health. COVID aside, but if you put it within the terms of this pandemic, you get taken down. And it's just amazing to me that such obvious health information is demonized for whatever. I don't want to attribute any, guesses as to why. I'm sure you guys can, put two and two together yourself of maybe some of the reasons why they would do that. But it's tough to watch, and it's very frustrating. It's very depressing to me. And I've been just in a funk these last couple of months, and I'm hoping, new year, I'm excited. I got my house on the market in Grand Prairie. I can't wait to move to Edmonton soon and try and get some sort of routine going. And I know that that's going to be difficult considering all the other things I just said, but any sort of piece of normalcy would be really appreciated right now. I think just this constant driving 4 hours to Edmonton to see some people or to do a podcast, and driving all the way back and being away from all my stuff and away from my safety of my home and my place is a lot for me. So I'm really looking forward to getting moved out, getting to Edmonton and getting set up, getting a really good solid schedule down where I'm doing the same things every day. And I'm starting to work towards that laundry list of things, like I mentioned already, that can help take this podcast to the next level and really make it what I want it to be. And I think I'm just been really beating myself up these last couple of months for not doing that, even though I know that, like I said, just getting out of bed is kind of been a struggle as of late. And you know what? I think also not being honest with you guys about it has been eating at me a little bit too, because, that was such a big move that I wanted so badly to fix everything of, leaving work and pursuing this full time, because I was so depressed. And then to see that, the depression didn't really leave. It definitely alleviated a lot of things. And to think now it makes my stomach just twist up in knots to try and think about navigating all this stuff. Plus, working that full-time job that was, causing other issues. So I'm so glad I made that decision, but in an effort to, try and make that decision seem as perfect as I can make it, I wasn't being honest with you guys about how I've been feeling these last couple of months. And I also don't like that, because I don't want to be dishonest with you guys. I want to be as open as I can, but sometimes it's just tough, and you feel like a baby for, crying over this stuff and how it makes you look. But it is serious. And I think maybe, if anything, if you're one of those people that doesn't have a lot of, what's the word? Compassion for those people on the other side. Maybe you lined up right away and you got your vax, and you think everybody that doesn't is, the biggest idiot in the world. Even if you're there, hopefully just listen to this, maybe you can just see a little bit of the other side of it, and that it's a little bit tough. And maybe if you know somebody in your life that's going through this, that seems like they're just doing fine and they're trucking through just fine. Maybe reach out to that person, maybe ask them, because I know I like to think of myself as a pretty tough guy, and this is really tough on me. And, like the White House to, put out that statement that if you're unvaxxed, prepare for a holiday season of death and seeing your family die and overloading the hospitals and stuff. It's like, whew, that stuff really, it's absolutely ridiculous. It makes no sense. And like intellectually, I know that, but it still is tough to hear and tough to see and tough to know they're putting that out and that there's people around cheering that kind of sentiment. Really, it's tough. I feel like I'm a criminal in that I've done something wrong, even though all I'm doing is standing up for what I believe in and what I've researched. And I try and nobody is, I walk around, I'm always asking, if you're listening to this right now and you want to come on and debate some of these things, I would love to. I've been asking and asking and asking. I would love to have Dr. Dina Hinshaw, anybody on to come talk about these things, but they refuse to debate them. And when I do get into debates with people, it turns into this straw man argument of something completely different. And what we really find is that we agree a lot more than we disagree. But for some reason, even though I can show that, hey, no, we agree on like 95% of this, they still refuse to take a look at the other 5 that is the real, the stuff that would make your skin crawl and have you kind of wanting to maybe take action, right? They just refuse to look at that. They will give only so much ground. You have to fight for that ground, fight for that ground. And that's usually from me compromising and kind of showing, hey, like I'm with you on so much of this stuff. I'm not what the media is painting everyone out that's on the other side of this as. I'm not some crazy conspiracy theorist. I'm not some anti-science person. I'm not someone that's, anti-vax. Like that term has changed so much. And it's so funny to me because me and my sister for so many years, our running joke was just how stupid anti-vaxxers were and how, the whole autism, and vaccine thing was so ridiculous and how provably ridiculous it was and all these things. And now a couple of years later where it's all changed, and because they changed the actual definition of it, where somebody that opposes vaccine mandates is now anti-vax. Like, since when? Like, that is a completely different thing. Vaccines and vaccine mandates are 2 different things, but technically by the definition, I'm now an anti-vaxxer. It's like, well, how did we get here? What happened? Like, my head's just spinning. It's like we went, 200 years in two. And I don't know. I don't want to end on a negative note like that. Open up to you guys about, how I've been feeling and how I've been struggling. But I think, and I think I need to say this is the reason I feel okay to kind of maybe open up a little bit and let you guys in on it, is that I had such an amazing time, seeing family and that. And that was tough too, with all this other baloney going on. You don't know how people think, and that they're, it was great. And there was no, like I said, there was no negativity at any of the holiday stuff, but you never know when you're going into that. And I was really dreading going to Christmas this year because I was like, fuck, am I going to, get yelled at, or people be, not want to go near me? Like, I just don't want to feel that. And just that dread all the time about that feeling of how people are going to perceive you when you're a good person, whew, getting emotional about it, like it's just tough. I always try so hard to be a good person. And that is so, I would never do anything that would ever hurt anybody. I never even want to be an inconvenience. And then to be just all of a sudden, one thing changes that's out of your control and you're a bad person. And it's like, man, this just doesn't feel good. It's really tough. And I really struggle with it. And, I don't see it ending. I don't see this changing anytime soon unless people wake up to it. And I'm going to keep doing my part to keep directing people to really good information where you can take it all in and then make a decision for yourself, which is all I've been advocating for this whole time. I just think that there's no way anybody can make an informed decision with the information they're getting through mainstream sources unless you go seek out these people that I'm pointing you to. You will have a terribly biased idea of what you're up against and what decisions you have in your pocket to make, right? Like, I think they're trying to make it so that there is no decision. You follow what you say, but that's not true. That's never been true. just on the face of it. When is ever anything one choice? When is ever anything black and white? When is there ever no gray? That's not a thing. That's not how the world works. And for them to try so hard to push it towards that this is a one solution. There's only one solution for this. And then to see the ridiculous of that. And we have countries that are fully vaccinated that are in way worse shape than ever. And that this is not the solution. That's not going to help it. Like there's amazing treatments and amazing testing solutions out there that we could try, but our inability to change course from this one solution idea is really preventing us from getting there. And I know this has nothing to do with NHL and Cory Cross and our guest today. And I need to just do a solo episode about all this stuff. But, it's just a bit ridiculous. And I don't want you guys to all run around and think that, you got to call me tomorrow because I'm in this big depression or whatever. I'm fine. I'm doing okay. It's been a bit of a slog, but I'm a tough guy. I'm doing all right. Don't worry about me. I just want to be honest with you guys about kind of what it's been like and what I'm going through, but I'm really excited for 2022. Holy man, I didn't really think about that. 2022, what it's all going to bring and where this podcast is going to go. And I hope that you guys all come along with me. I've had some amazing messages over these last couple of months that have really kept me going. And I think it's easy to forget that this podcast is impacting people. Sometimes, you release an episode on Monday and by Thursday, everyone's kind of forgot about it and you're just in your own world. And then you get a message out of the blue from someone you haven't talked to for maybe a decade. And they say that, the podcast impacted them. That I just want to say thank you so much for you guys for doing that. That is the stuff that keeps me going. That's been the light that has illuminated, some of the darkness over these last few months. And I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And I'm going to keep making this podcast what it is so that I can have more of effect on more people. And if you guys could do me that favor of, following the social media, sharing the posts if you can, telling somebody about an episode if you hear one, if if you listen to this episode and you like it, someone that loves hockey or ex-nhl players telling old stories about who was the biggest pranksters they know back when they played and all that stuff, pass it on to them. That really helps. Other than that, like I said, share the social media stuff. Subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That all really helps. And also, I know I mentioned this in so many of the intros and outros in the past, and I kind of got off doing it. I am looking for help with the podcast. I think so much of what's holding me back right now is knowing that long term, it wouldn't be feasible for me to take on what needs to be done to bring this podcast to the next level because there's so many things that would just eat up my time. But knowing that, I need to really get on finding some help. And I think in the new year, I'm going to be putting some ads up, some actual ads on, one of those hiring sites to try and bring some people on to help with this. And I just want to open the door because one of the biggest things I'm going to put on those hiring sites is that you actually have to, listen to some episodes and know what the podcast is about. So I figure if that's going to be the biggest prerequisite, might as well start with the people that are listening too, that can hear it here. And if that interests you, doesn't matter what you're doing. You don't have to have any sort of skill set. I have, like I said, so many lists of so many things to do. If you came to me and said, "Hey, I like what you're doing here. I believe in it. I want to come on board," we'd find something that your skill set would match up with, and we would kick some ass. I just know it. So I plan on kicking ass with or without you. But fuck, if you're sitting at a job you hate and you're bored and you'd like to just take a swing at it and take a big step, you know what? Come give me a shout. I think we can make some magic. Other than that, I hope you enjoy this episode with Cory Cross. He's an amazing guy. Really generous. Love talking with him. I'm hoping this summer I can get out to BC and maybe sit down with him in person and have a few beers and do this the right way. But until then, I can't tell you guys enough how much of a kick I get out of sitting down and speaking with an ex-NHL player like this and get to ask all my questions. It just means the world to me, and I hope you guys enjoy it as well. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Beautiful. Well, it's a huge honor to have you back on the show, Cory. It's not often I get to talk to people that have really walked the walk on this podcast. It's a cool experience. Thanks for helping me out.
No, you bet, Nick. Anytime.
You bet. Had a whole kind of laundry list of things I wanted to chat with you, but I think it'd be remiss if didn't start it off with the Oilers, considering what's been happening lately. For people that are listening to this maybe at a later date, at this point, the Oilers just racked up their 6th loss in a row last night. I know you've been a busy man. Have you been able to catch much of the Oilers this year?
I haven't seen a lot of their games lately, being down in Florida for last couple of weeks. It was just been seeing the scores and kind of the last thing on my mind was hockey, but
Yeah, fair enough.
Watching some football games, which was fun.
Nice.
But every team goes through a lull. It's a long season, and it just, this is the lull they're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's every year when I played, there's always going to be those stretches in the season that things aren't going your way for whatever reason, and every team will go through it. It's just a matter of trying to limit the losses. Like 6 games, that's enough. Like it's time to it's time to get a win here. And they're I'm sure they're panicking a little bit in the streets of Edmonton like they always do, but they'll be fine.
Yeah. And I got to say, just as a lifelong Oilers fan, I've seen all kinds of streaks and slumps that we've had. And, from the kinds that just, baffle your mind. I don't know why we're losing, right. Or the ones where you kind of feel like you got away lucky. It's like, oh yeah, that was a bad stretch, but man, it could have been a lot worse with how we're playing, kind of thing. And what's new to me with this latest little stretch is this is the first time in my memory that I remember seeing them on a losing streak like this, but every game they're playing pretty well. Like it's not that they're not putting the effort out there, or things just aren't going their way. I swear Puljujärvi could have had 15 goals in those 6 losses. It's just the chances are there. They've come up against some hot goalies, and just as a fan, that's really refreshing, because I feel like as an Oilers fan, you get so kicked sometimes that you automatically go to, the panic in the streets, like you're saying. But for me, this is kind of a reinvigorating feeling to have that bad stretch, have it be early enough in the year that it's easily recoverable. But to still see some good hockey being played even still. And sure, there's frustration. You can see it in some of the individual players and a lot of the leadership on the team. You can see that there's frustration there, rightfully so, but it sure is refreshing as a fan to see within that it still be somewhat positive, and still every night, no matter what the scoreboard is, you have a couple really positive things to point at to keep kind of that fire burning. It's really nice for myself as an Oilers fan.
Yeah, and that's usually what coaches are looking for too. Hey, we're playing well. We're just not getting the bounces right now. It's a different story when a team's playing really bad and not getting any chances. Then as a coach, you're thinking, okay, what do we got to do? What's going on here? But if they're getting the chances like you're saying, and they're just inches away, well, that's going to quickly turn around, and they just keep on the same path, right?
Yeah. So. And that's nice. You don't need to make any wholesale changes. You can kind of keep with the program, just keep pushing hard at it. And hopefully something's got to break. And it's nice too, with a couple of the breaks coming up, you get a little bit of a holiday there. It's kind of up in the air right now with the Olympics. I know Calgary just had to postpone some more games for COVID. And I think that kind of shines a light on maybe the fact that some of these teams might not go with everything going on in the world. And, it'd be nice to, I'm kind of torn. I'm curious what you feel on this, because I'm torn. I love the Olympics so much, purely just for hockey. The rest of the Olympics, I have some bones to pick. I think it's kind of a little bit corrupt, and I wish more of the money went to the athletes and all that. But it's nice to be able to see every 4 years how the countries stack up. But considering, and having said that, I want to start with that, because I want people to understand I love Olympic hockey and I want them to go there. But considering how it's looking right now and what they're up against, I really wouldn't blame guys for not wanting to go, or for the NHL for kind of pushing them in that direction. I'm curious how someone that's played the game, how you think about it.
Yeah, it's definitely up in the air, right?
Yeah.
The NHL is saying we're going. I mean, I'm sure they're getting some dollars put in their pockets, right?
Probably, yeah.
Send players.
Yeah.
And obviously this is a big thing for just the global name of hockey.
Yeah.
I know it hurt last Olympics, not the NHL, without the NHL guys being there.
Yeah.
China's just, it's starting to become a hockey country. Their youth development is going really well, and I think this is one of those things that are just going to keep it going, right?
Yeah.
Going to even increase it. So
yeah.
But on a personal note, I mean, I don't know. I was just in Tampa, and where I was in a stadium of 70,000 people, nobody's wearing a mask.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, is it overblown here? I think it's overblown here.
For sure,
bit. I mean, there's been times I couldn't even see my daughter, play volleyball. It's like, come on, seriously. We're all down. We all got vaccinated. Most people are vaccinated, and they keep saying, oh, we're going to go back to normal. You get vaccinated. Well, we're vaccinated, so
Yeah.
You know,
Where's the normal?
what's yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm sick of the crap actually.
Oh,
So
you
I
are
mean, going down to Florida, it was so refreshing.
yeah.
It's just normal, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's
They're locking so many people away from being for the opportunity to go see that there is still normalcy in the world because they don't want people to see that. And that's exactly what you hear. Anybody I know that's traveled in the last 2 years is saying, what the hell's going on here, guys? Like Canada, wake up. Like the first Christmas within COVID, me and my dad went down to Phoenix, and it was still kind of right in the height of everything where we were fully scared with all the media stuff going on. So we were very careful. But when you looked around, it looked like nothing was going on. No one really was taking it that seriously at that time. And this was a year and a half ago at this point, 2 years, right? Like it's crazy to see. It's really crazy to see. And you're preaching to the choir. I've been talking on this podcast about all that and trying to highlight all the inconsistencies the whole way through. And it's nice to start to see more and more people starting to see it. I know Joe Rogan just, has the biggest platform in the world. And he had a doctor on a couple of days ago that really laid it out very plainly, all the funny business that's been happening behind the scenes, and none of it is crazy conspiracy stuff. And it's all backed up with scientific data, and he's a well-respected doctor. And you just hope something like that makes a change and makes a dent in people's dug in viewpoints on it. But something's got to break here soon. But having said that, even if a player believes all that himself, but just hears, if I have even a false positive, I'm going to be stuck in China for 3 to 5 weeks. If I'm Connor McDavid and I hear that, the team's talking about that changes your mind, right? Like it doesn't matter what you think of it. If you're going to be, have the same rules applied to you as, somebody that believes this is, I don't know, the bubonic plague 2.0 or something crazy like that. It kind of changes the dynamic a little bit, at least. And then,
for sure. I mean, you're not going to go if you think you got to stay there for 3 to 5 weeks. That's ludicrous. I mean, I don't understand that at all.
Mm-hmm. And like team owners and stuff, that's a lot to ask of them, right? Like you say, they get a lot out of it too. It grows the game, all those other things. There's some financials involved, but really when you spend years trying to architect a team to win the hardest cup in sports, and you have all these things, there's got to be a lot of benefit for you to risk everything you set up for, right? Like you see it every year, even with a normal Olympics, there's always those kind of questions that come up, but this year it's just really amplified with everything else. And something else I'm curious to ask you about too, is because one of the biggest things I hear about with the Olympics is the Olympic break. Olympics are amazing for the guys that play, but also for the guys that don't play. It sounds like it's a pretty nice little time for them to get a little bit of rest in mid-season and stuff. And what I was thinking with the Oilers is, man, after a streak like this, they could sure use a little bit of a break. But for yourself, all-star breaks, Olympic breaks, it sounds like there's a lot of fun times. You have a lot of good memories from those times in your playing career of, the little holidays mid-season, the refreshes, coming back to the game with a couple days, sun in your pocket.
Yeah, I come a couple times. I had some Olympic breaks. So the one time we just had our baby, and this was my last year in the league. We just had a baby, and we couldn't go anywhere. So I actually spent the whole break just working out actually.
Yeah,
and getting myself in shape, and it was good. And when I came back after the break, I was feeling really good, and I actually played a lot better than I was playing prior to. And had a bad experience in Mexico on another break where I took a girl down there, and we ended up getting in a place that I didn't think. It was a terrible room, and there was no ocean view. It was in the back of this hotel, and so I was trying to get a hold of the travel agent. And back then there wasn't really not a lot of cell phone coverage then. And so I waited in the room for them to call me back to see if they could find another hotel.
Yeah.
Well, next thing you know, there's construction going on below us. And so we wasted the whole first day waiting for the travel agent. Yeah. She finally calls, and she's like, "Oh, everything's booked." So I'm like, I think this travel agent was maybe the worst one I've ever used.
Yeah.
And so I said to my girlfriend, I said, "Well, we're not going to be in the room anyways. We'll be fine.
Make the most of it."
Next day, pouring rain. It's raining the whole time. But meanwhile, the construction is just going.
Yeah.
It's still jackhammering. And we're lying there in this crappy little room, like what the hell we sign up for?
Oh, God,
the next day, there was a little bit of sun. We had a decent day. And then the next day, well, let's go snorkeling. So we go snorkeling. And my girlfriend had been in a car accident about a year before and had some jaw issues. So when we were snorkeling, her jaw was getting sore. I said, well, let's just stop and we'll go. There's some trails around. So we were hiking around the trails from this. It was like a lagoon.
Yeah.
And we're at the very end of the trail and it starts pouring on us.
Oh, no.
So we run back to the bus. We're just soaked. We get on the bus. In Mexico, they just pump the air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally look over and her lips are blue. She's just shaking. and then, so we get back to the hotel where she's freezing, her jaw's sore. I'm like, let's go to this other hotel, because there was a sister hotel they had in Cancun. They say, well, we can go there if we want, because the hotel we were in was all sold out. So let's go to this other hotel. So we drive up to this other hotel, have a decent day, and I wake up and she's crying in the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, go in the bathroom. Are you okay? And she's like, oh. I go, she keeps crying. I'm like, is your jaw? Yeah, it's sore. And then she goes, I just don't think things are working out with you and I.
Holy shit. Oh my God.
And I'm like, what? Are you kidding? So she literally right then breaks up with me.
Holy
I'm
man.
like, what the hell? So anyways, we had one more day together.
Yeah.
And we wake up and she's like, what are we doing today? And I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm
I'll be
gonna
at the bar.
Drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's funny. Oh.
So I go to the bar. And anyway, she's kind of hanging around, and we fly back the next day. We don't have the travel agent didn't even have our seats together on the way down, so we had to finagle some seats. Well, on the way back, the girl's like, well, there's no two seats together. I'm like, that's fine.
Perfect.
We're good.
Perfect. Yeah. Oh man, that's so funny.
So that was my holiday. The one it wasn't very fun.
Got some good memories of the breaks and some bad memories of the breaks. Holy man, what are the odds you catch hypothermia in Mexico? That'd be some good stories to come back to the boys with after.
Oh yeah. Oh, I remember Domi Ty was like, I had the worst trip. Blah blah blah. He's going on and on. I'm like, Ty, you got nothing on me, man. And I told him, he's like, you're right. You had the worst trip.
Yeah, you can have this one. You can have this one. I'm sure that's probably, now that I think about it, half the fun of those breaks is probably, whatever you got to do, but then coming back after and hearing all the stories of what everyone else did. Cause you got 20 some guys on the team that all go, probably a couple of them do something together, but I bet you there's some fun stories that come back after those breaks, probably all the time in the locker room. It's just story time all the time, but I bet you there's some extra ones coming after that.
Yeah, no, I mean, guys are always looking for it. It is a great way to get some rest.
Yeah.
And everybody comes back after the break ready to go at it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's awesome. I wish they would do that a little more.
For sure.
Even on the off days or off years, give the guys a week rest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how much energy you have after coming out of it.
For sure. And that's what I was thinking too, of like, this year with the Olympics, if they don't go, right, like, and I think this is kind of an odd year too, because they'd probably use that time to fit in some games that were canceled due to COVID stuff and that, and really take some of that back-ended pressure off of the season. But that's the one thing I was thinking that would be sad if they didn't go to the Olympics, to lose that Olympic break, because you just hear from these players how amazing that is and how much they're probably already planning things and looking forward to it. And like you say, the rest that you get and what that changes the rest of the season after those breaks is, I don't want to see them lose that if they don't go. But hopefully, maybe some cooler heads prevail and they say, we're not going to keep you here for 5 weeks. You can come. It's going to be safe. It's going to be done well. Yeah. And we get to see some NHL some NHL caliber players in the Olympics, but I don't know.
Yeah. It's the best hockey. It's the best hockey,
mm-hmm.
All these Olympics that we've seen, always the best hockey. So as a fan, mm-hmm. You want that.
Yeah, for sure. And what I loved was that World Cup, or I can't remember what it was. A couple of years ago, they did that. They had that Team North America and a Team Europe, and it wasn't tied to the Olympics, but that was such great hockey and such a great.
It was really good. Yeah.
Like, I thought they knocked it out of the park of like what what I'm always, that itch that's always there that gets scratched by the Olympics, right? Just that you want some really high level competitive hockey that really shows the landscape of how things are lining up, right? That's really what you want. It's nice that the Olympics is there to facilitate that, but it doesn't have to be the Olympics. I thought that was amazing what they did, right? That under 24 team, that was just spectacular. Yeah. I think, didn't Team Europe, who kind of everyone thought was going to be kind of a, you know, a kicking team at the start of it, didn't they ended up in the finals against Canada too? Yeah. That was awesome. They did, yeah. I would love to see them do that. Like if they did that every 2 years and never went to the Olympics again, I don't think I'd be that concerned. And they can structure it in with their season, right? Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what that is that keeps them from doing that. You know, there's always so much that goes on. It's such a big business. There's always 9 different things that you don't even think about from the outside that are stopping it from being that simple. But you sure wish as a fan that they could just figure something out like that, so we don't have to go through all this rigmarole or are we going, are we not going kind of thing. It's a little bit silly, especially when these guys have everything to concentrate on to begin with. Yeah, and to be honest with you, when you play on that big ice surface, the game changes a lot. For sure. And the games are way more defensive compared to what we saw in the World Cup of Hockey, where you know, you're playing on NHL size rinks and there's just a lot more action. For sure. Yeah, over in Europe, you know, on the European ice, teams are just playing the trap. That's all they do. Because if you don't, guys are too good nowadays that they'll just expose the defense if you're not playing like that. So I do like it on the American ice more than the European ice. Yeah. I got to give one caveat to that, is at least once I want to see what McDavid does on the international ice, just to see him with all that room and all that space to wheel and see what he can do to defenses. I'd be very curious to see that. But other than that, I'm with you. I like that NHL size much better. The rate of play, the style of play that it promotes is just better in my opinion, just empirically. But I'm sure there's probably a lot of international fans that would argue that back just as powerfully back to me, that theirs is better. But I don't know. I'd love to see McDavid rip it up one time, just once. That's all I ask. I'm sure. But the problem is he'll be ripping around the outside, and they'll just stay in between the dots. And so I mean, he's one guy that can expose guys with a stick hand. But it's funny how you would think you get more scoring chances in European on European sheets, but because you play so defensively, you don't see that. So and that's and it's kind of interesting too, because of what a different game it is. It's kind of interesting for every couple years to see these NHL teams that have played that style that they're used to come in and shake up the international play that is so used to us on this big ice, that they come in and kind of bring a piece of that small rink hockey to the big ice. And you can see these teams that are so used to that just defensive against defensive matchup, and just that little bit of a tweak on it where it's not, they're trying to take on that big ice tactics, but really they have a piece of that innate, where their skills develop, that comes through a little bit, and you get to see it kind of puts them on their heels a little bit. They're not the way North American players play on international ice is not exactly how somebody that grew up on it and is used to that and came up in that kind of more defensive style, right? That's also another fascinating aspect to it that you don't get, I guess, if we had it all the time and it was on our ice sheets. But I don't know. Yeah. I'm a sucker for storylines, and if it's good players playing good hockey, I don't really have too much complaints about it. It's when it gets into the politics and this stuff of, are we going, are we not going? I just kind of want to know what's happening so I can, you know, plan accordingly and make sure I'm there to listen. I also don't really want to get up at 2 a.m. to watch games in China. if I'm honest. No, that's going to be a bit of a dagger. So you said you haven't been watching too much hockey, but got to a little bit of football. What's been keeping you busy lately? What's a busy thing? Kids in sports? What's keeping you running around?
Yeah, well, the kids have been making us run around. My son's playing hockey with the Rink Academy. Yeah. And so he has games, showcases or tournaments every weekend. Yeah. So following him with that. And then my daughter is a volleyball player here in Kelowna. And so they just captured the city championships. Nice. And then they won like an interprovincial championships, because they were supposed to go to provincials when all the floods happened, right, in Abbotsford and the highway obviously falling apart. And so what they did, all the teams that couldn't get to Vancouver, they had an interprovincial tournament, and they ended up winning that. So cool. So she had a real successful volleyball season, school season, and she's in the club volleyball right after Christmas.
Nice.
And then personally, I'm just doing a little bit of row hand stuff. And then I was down in Atlanta in Florida for a little holiday with some buddies.
Nice.
Saw a couple of football games and did a little golf. And it's been pretty low key.
Did you get to that Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta? Did you get to see any games there?
We were there.
Holy, how was that place?
Oh, it's amazing. Amazing. So it is crazy how nice it is. They have a 360 degree video screen on the roof, and the roof was closed. I mean, they could have opened it. It was actually quite nice that day, but it was closed. But spectacular facility, and it was the Bucks won, and
nice.
I'm a big Bucks fan, big Brady fan, and so it was good. And then they beat the Bills the next week. So
holy, so you got to get to two games and got to see 2 wins, hey?
Yeah, went to Atlanta first, and then drove. My buddy from Florida came up. He has a lake house in Atlanta, at a place called Lake Lanier, and we drove back to Florida and hung out during the week, and then went to the game on Sunday there. So.
Beautiful. I mean, that's quite the life. I'm kind of jealous, not gonna lie. I'd love to be out there. I mean,
well, when you turn 50, that was my 50th birthday. Celebration. So one of my good buddies from Lloyd, it's his 50th birthday as well. So this was our little getaway
celebratory trip. Yeah.
So when you turn 50, you'll be able to do something like that.
Fair enough. And hopefully I'll have kids chasing around with sports and all that. Are you doing any coaching with the kids, or is it kind of at the point where they've gotten to their systems where they got it all laid out and you can kind of just sit back and enjoy as a fan and as a dad?
Yeah, I haven't coached. I've been on the ice with my son's team a little bit, but just watching like a dad. So,
is it tough to watch and get that feeling? I know a lot of times, lots of sitting on the sidelines when you've played, it's tough to take yourself out of it and just let things play out because you can't have any impact. Is that tough to just watch as a fan and not be able to have any input?
Yeah, it has been tough for me. I've been coaching ever since I retired. And it's definitely been a little difficult just to stand there and not say anything. And but it's probably good for my son to be coached by somebody else for a little bit. He's heard my voice enough. Here's my voice after the game. So it's good for him to be coached by somebody else. They got a good coach, and it's all good.
I just released an episode with a guy from Slave Lake, and he's a close family friend, and he coached his son in all sorts of baseball, hockey and stuff. And we just had a really great podcast talking about that experience of what you get out of coaching. And it kind of brought me back to coaching my dad, coaching me, and all those relationships. But it was interesting to talk about exactly that, where there's certain things you get from that relationship of coaching with your dad. But there's a certain point where you've kind of given all you can, and you need to let go of the reins a little bit more and let these other people show them different viewpoints and different ways to go about it. And just that whole dynamic, I'd never really given it that much thought, but there's so much that goes into that coaching, especially when there's the father-son or parent-child relationship added into it. But it just, I think it's so much fun and it's so much action. You forget, you don't realize all the lessons that are being imparted. And when we kind of got to sit there after, because he's now got an empty nest and his kids are gone, and we're just kind of talking about it and reminiscing on it and all the stories you get from, being on the road. And for us, it was all around, Northern Alberta and these small towns, sitting in the motel, all the parents drinking and doing leg wrestles on the floor and stuff. Like, it's just that shit is priceless. You can't get enough of it. Hey, like it's just awesome.
Always. Yeah, I mean, I played, guys I played hockey with, we still tell stories about, being in the hotels and doing stupid things. But I agree. Like, there's so many dads that want to be involved in their son's hockey, and which is great. Minor hockey needs coaches,
for sure.
But at some point you got to cut the cord, and you got to let somebody else coach your son. And this is the year for me to do that, and it's been good for my son to hear another voice, and now he comes home and is like, you're telling me the right things, because another guy's just telling me the same things over and over.
Sometimes all it takes is a different voice to say the same shit that somehow sinks in there differently.
That's right. Because I mean, really, it's just you're not really a coach. You're their dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, kids don't listen to their parents in best times. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it's funny. There's some kids, man, that are just so influenced by their dad, and I see
Yeah.
see that here on his team. There's one dad. He's just not giving his son the right info, and
Yeah.
his son doesn't. And then his son is uncoachable. He doesn't want to listen to coaches, and it's
Yeah.
just like, there's that other layer of it that,
Yeah.
as a dad, you just gotta just zip it. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not
Yeah.
telling this guy's just not telling his son the right, how to play the game right,
Yeah.
and his son does it on the ice, and he doesn't do well.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sad to think about, and just how often that must happen, right? Like my dad always coached me, and he didn't play any high level hockey coming up, and he had his basics and that, but you don't realize how much of kind of, if you have that powerful figure, and how much that shapes your game. Because when I played, I always just liked to hit. I never was a fighter, never was a goal scorer, didn't have much for hands, but I just liked to hit, and I just thought that was innate. That was me. But when I had that conversation with this guy the other day, and we're reminiscing about it all, that was my dad to a T. When we'd watch hockey games on TV and we saw a big hit, that's all we're celebrating. Like, we love big hits better than we like the goals. And I definitely picked that up from him. Didn't realize it until, 20 years later, but that's so much of what he enjoyed is what I went in and tried to do, completely not thinking about it and just thinking, oh, that's just what I enjoy. But it was amazing to look back on it and see how much influence that has if you have a really strong one figure in your life that is showing you an aspect like hockey. You're not going to get away out from that unscathed. You're going to have some shadows on you that come from that, and that can be good or bad. Like you say, if you have a dad that knows his shit and maybe played a few games in some high level hockey, maybe that's a big help. But if you don't, that could probably put you down a bad path, at least at the start, until you can get someone with a good head on their shoulders to maybe break through. But that's tough on its own.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. I've just seen it so many times coaching minor hockey.
Yeah.
Their dads are filming the shifts, and then, going back to the house and, giving their input on the shifts. And you just, you're thinking as a coach, you're thinking, oh, what is he saying to them?
Yeah.
Like, and where's he coming up with this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, kids are always looking at at the parent in the stands, and,
Mm-hmm.
Was that a good shift? And parents are giving the hand signals. It's just
oh my
one
God,
thing after another. I've seen it all.
That is crazy.
Hockey. Yeah, it's crazy.
Like that none of that surprises me, because that was kind of the natural evolution of what thinking back to my minor hockey and how crazy it was getting at that point, where we thought, holy man, like, where is it going to end? And we never got to the point where some of the things you're saying, but that doesn't surprise me at all, because that's the next steps, the next evolution, that naturally where it was going, what I was seeing of it, 10 years ago or whatever it is at this point, that's right about where it'd be now. That's just, I think my optimism had hoped that maybe that would be curtailed by something and it wouldn't have gone down that path. But I think that's just kind of naturally with the way things are going these days. It's pretty normal, but oh well, what can you do about it? Just do the best you can and hope that they get into a better situation, that their parents chill out a little bit. You just feel bad for the kids at the end of the day, really.
Well, and that's exactly I feel sorry for the kids
Mm-hmm.
that are in these situations they can't get out of, right? And they just have they have no chance.
Yeah. It's as sad as that is. And maybe on a more positive note, just thinking back when we're talking about, all the days in the hotels and stuff, and that, me and my dad have stories and you have stories, and those are the stories that you keep telling going forward. I'm just curious. It seems like there's always been an undercurrent of pranking in the NHL. And that's been since its inception. Every guy I've listened to, it seems to always been there, but it seemed to have been at its peak kind of around the time you played. And now it's kind of, there's still guys that prank, but it's a little bit less elaborate. I don't know, maybe with kind of modern technology, it becomes more difficult to do something, but I'm curious to you, who are some of the biggest pranksters that you played with over the years? Is there any that you remember either just hearing about on other teams, or ones that you got to witness yourself that really made you laugh, or is appropriate enough to tell these days? I'm sure there's probably some that aren't able to be said.
Well, Mark Bergevin is probably the funniest guy I ever. I mean, you can ask almost every one of his teammates. He's the funniest guy and the biggest prankster they've ever been with. And it's interesting how he's been, so successful.
That is amazing.
Because he just thinks he just thinks out of the box and comes up with some of the stuff. You're just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But him and I were roommates my first year, and he got me really good. He got me really good. We were in Philadelphia, and we were there. We had a practice day, and then we had a game day. So we were there, a couple days early.
Mm-hmm.
So we had an early morning practice. It was I think it was 9 o'clock practice.
Yeah.
And it was always my job to call down for the wake up call.
Yeah.
And so I called, set the wake up call for 7 or 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
And the call doesn't come in, and we wake up and it's 5 to 8 and the bus is at 8.
Yeah.
So we just got on the bus, didn't get any breakfast, and he's all mad at me because I'm the rookie and didn't make the call. Anyways, he heard me call him, right?
Yeah.
And then so the next day, well, that night I called to make a wake up call. I'm like, hey, we didn't get one. Make sure oh yeah, for sure, Mr. Cross. So we go to bed, and I get woken up by Burge, and he's like, Cory, we're late again. We didn't get a call. And I'm like, well, at times I look, and it's, I don't know, I think our bus was at 9 and it was 8:45.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we still got time. And he's like, no. He's hurrying me along. He's come on. We gotta go. So the elevator was right outside our room.
Yeah.
So he goes in the elevator first. I come out. I'm kind of taking my time because we did have time.
Yeah.
And he's in the elevator. He's like, oh, my glasses. I forgot my glasses. And I said, well, I'll hold the elevator for you. He goes, no, go down, make sure the bus doesn't leave.
Yeah.
And I'm all tired and not even thinking straight. So I go down and I'm walking through the lobby, and it's really quiet in the lobby.
Yeah.
And I go out to where the bus is, and the bus isn't there. And I'm like, flipping, we missed the bus, right?
Yeah.
And so I come back to the front desk, and I say to the guy, hey, I got a wake up call and at 7:45. And we didn't get one, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, no, I have you down here at 7:45. I'm like, well, we didn't get one. And he's like, well, Mr. Cross, it's only 7. It's 7 in the morning.
Fucker, hey? Gotcha. Oh, God.
So, what a bastard. So I go back to the room. He's back in bed. He's all curled up. He's just laughing. And I'm like, that was good. Yeah. So he always tells that story. And then the next day, because we're on a little bit of a road trip, and the next day I woke up before him and I put my mouth right by his ear and I yelled Burge as loud as I can. He was like,
hit the roof.
He jumped out. Yeah, I hit the roof. Yeah. And that was my comeback. But he did a lot of things. He was so funny. He took Jim Cummins. Jim Cummins wore cowboy boots to the rink one day. This is just a practice, and he took his cowboy boots and he put skate blades on them. He didn't rivet the skate blades on, but he got the skate blades on him, and he took Jim's skates off the hooks of his locker and put the boots with the blades on
Holy
it.
Shit.
And another really good one. I mean, there are so many with that. I could go on and on. But the one I remember in Tampa, we were practicing, and we practiced just in a community rink in Tampa. Yeah. And where we got dressed was on the second level, and there was windows there, and it looks down at the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And there was public skating after our practice.
Yeah.
And the PA announcer, the PA, like the mic and everything, was right beside our dressing room. So Burge gets into there, and he starts telling everybody, okay, everybody, welcome to public skating. He's going on and on. He's like, okay, everybody, 3 hard strides. So everybody's like, did 3 hard strides. And he's like, okay, everybody backwards. And they imagine this is in Florida.
Yeah.
And so people can't even skate forwards, and they're trying to skate backwards.
Oh my
God.
Then
he's like, stop and go the other way. And they're going the other way. He's going on and on.
And all the boys are probably just dying at this point. Everyone's watching.
Oh, yeah. So funny.
That's awesome.
Oh, he did so many things. He is so funny.
That's so funny. Of all the guys you could have named, that'd be one. Like anybody that I think ascends to that level of GM in the league is kind of you assume they're going to be kind of that, Landeskog, McKinnon, Crosby. It's very serious, like not a lot of messing around. It's funny to hear of a guy like that has that much personality and all that can still get to that point too. That's almost fills me with joy just to hear that. Oh, I love that. That's awesome. That is awesome. Oh man.
He is so funny.
Yeah, I bet. So he's one of the biggest pranksters and clearly one of the funniest guys too. But that was going to be my next question. There's always those guys that kind of take that prankster role on, but just the other thing is sometimes the funniest guys in the room aren't even the pranksters, just the guy that have the liners. And a lot of the times with, and everyone can take their first shot of the episode. And I'm mentioning Spit and Chicklets podcast. I know that's a nice drinking game everyone likes to play when I have anybody from the hockey world on. But from what I hear is it's guys you never would expect that just are quietly some of the funniest guys in that room, right? There's always the big names, the guys that are quite goofy and a little bit of their personality from. But I'm curious from you, who do you think people would be surprised, maybe like a Bergevin that was one of the funniest guys you played with, but did it in such a way that if you didn't know him, you wouldn't realize what a funny guy they were?
Yeah. Well, it comes. Jason Chimera was really funny.
Yeah?
He's got a real good personality and lots of jokes and just crazy energy about him. So he was always a lot of fun in the Oiler dressing room.
Yeah.
We had a guy named Sean Burr. He had a line for everything, and it was like old dad jokes, like dad.
Those
jokes.
are the best ones, though.
Oh, and he just was going on, but he'd have something for everything, and he just kept talking. Like, he was one of those guys, when he got nervous, he would just keep talking. So to relax himself. So it'd just be joke after joke. And the coaches would always write down names of the guys, the opposing team's lineup on the board. Well, he would make a joke about their names, and I'm trying to think of an example, but like Doug Waite, he likes to throw his weight around, like something like that. But he'd throw one out there, and if it wasn't that funny, well, he would just be sitting there in his stall trying to come up with a better one until everybody laughed, right? And it was just nonstop, over and over and over again. So he was, unfortunately he passed away, but he had leukemia. But he was a guy that always had a lot of good lines, and he goes, I only have 2 years. He always, his line was, I only have 2 years of jokes, so I get traded every 2 years.
Yeah, perfect. Once you run through them all. Oh man, I feel like that was that sounds like you're talking about my childhood growing up, because that's my dad and Barry Discover, who's it's like my second dad growing up from Lloyd there, Brent's brother. Those two got a line for goddamn everything. Like it blows your mind. And if it's not a line, there's some obscure song from the 70s or the 80s that they can sing that matches perfectly. Like it's like watching a comedy show every time you're around them, especially when you get the two of them together. Holy man. But I just love those kind of people that have those lines, even if the jokes are not that funny. I just love the effort of trying to throw them out there. That's my type of people, taking swings.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Nobody else really stands out. I got to tell you, probably the best prank I've ever heard, though, is my neighbor, Todd Simpson. So Todd Simpson is a big prankster.
Yeah.
And he got traded from Phoenix to somewhere. So he's in Phoenix. He gets traded to somewhere else. So he goes to the rink to say bye to everybody. They go out and practice. So he took he went into everybody's pants. And he took everybody's keys. So, back then there was house keys, those car keys. There's no fob or anything like that.
Yeah.
And he took off every key on all the key rings, and he put them in a bag. And he just left it. He left it on the table and said, "Hey, really glad, good luck the rest of the year."
Yeah.
And so they had a bag of keys.
Oh my God, that is devastating. That is one of the biggest daggers of a prank I've ever heard. That is so funny.
Oh, that is so funny. So it took them forever to figure out all their keys and house keys and
probably never did. There's probably half those keys that had to get thrown out because they could never figure it out.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that is hilarious. That's such a good one. I thought the cowboy boots one was the toss, so that one's pretty good. I know how serious people take their cowboy boots, myself included. If someone fucked with them, I'd be pretty mad. But just the thought of hanging on a stall with skate blades on it. Oh, that's funny. It doesn't matter how savage the prank is. If it's funnier than the savageness, like the key thing like that, people would be pissed. But it's so funny that you kind of just got to roll with it. And that's my favorite prank, when it's pretty out there, but the humor level really carries it through to the finish line. Oh man, that's awesome.
Oh yeah. And the prank that went sideways, I got to tell you this story. So I'm with New York.
Yeah.
and Dale Purington and Sandy McCarthy, they like pranking each other. And I'm not exactly sure which one did what, but I think McCarthy put a rainbow sticker on Purington's back window.
On his vehicle.
Yeah. And so he got mad and threw Sandy's clothes in the hot tub. Well, that didn't go well, and they actually had it out in the dressing room a little bit. So,
oh man,
that was a prank that went wrong.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm sure that's
like
not the only time that's ever happened.
They were throwing bombs. They were. So we had to break that up.
Yeah. Oh man, that brings to mind two different questions I want to ask. I'm just thinking of which direction I should go, kind of on the fighting note, or staying on kind of the fights within the team, because a couple of years ago we saw St. Louis be bottom of the league. I think it was at New Year's. I think they were the bottom of the league. And they had a big blow up at practice. Two players, I can't even remember the two players, they ended up getting in a fight at practice, kind of the lowest of the low straw that broke camel's back. Had some meetings after that, and then they were a different team. And it's so funny what can snap people out of funks like that. Sometimes guys talk about, we just got the whole team, we went out to the bar and just partied for 3 days straight, and that's what broke us out of the funk. Just thinking of where the Oilers are right now, I'm curious for yourself over the years, if you had any slumps, do you remember any noticeable, activities or things that either broke you guys out or that you tried to break out of a funk?
Yeah, well, the compete level at practice definitely has to go up, and it'd be interesting to see how competitive practices are nowadays. Like back when I played, man, guys. I mean, I'm being old, but our guys were way tougher than they are now. Like when we played, we were way tougher than the guys are now, and so there'd be fights in the in the rink. Guys going 1-on-1, and if you're not playing well and you're going 1-on-1 and you're giving the guy some lumber, and that sometimes goes sideways, and you're scrapping. You hear it once in a blue moon here, and every time it happens, the reporters are all over it. Oh,
make it a huge thing.
The team is falling apart. They have a fight. I'm like, Jesus, this was like a weekly thing when I played. A goalie get hit in the head with a puck. Well, goalie's chasing the guys down with this stick, gonna kill them. And I see now, like, when I coach the Warriors here, and even UFC, and then I see, all these other level practices, and guys just ripping off the goalies' heads, and the goalies don't do anything. I'm like, oh man, I'm like, go after that guy, and like start swinging your stick. They'll stop shooting at your head, and they're like looking at me like I got two heads. I'm like, oh, I could never do that. I'm like, yeah, you can. So I think a lot of that stuff doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, you're right. And that kind of limits because everyone's under such a microscope, that kind of limits your possibilities of things that can break you out of that when you're in a funk, right? Like you kind of.
How about I got an example. How about when so last year in the playoffs, and they're playing Winnipeg, and they zero in on McDavid. Oh, he's getting all frustrated, and he's getting mad at his teammates. He's a captain. Like, he's a leader. He's a leader of the team. Yeah, he should be getting in his teammates' face and wake up. Sure. Like, this is what captains do. This is a tough part of being a captain in the NHL. Yeah, is you get in your teammates' face and wake up. And man, I've had captains threaten guys, beat the crap out of them, right? Yeah. And Mark Messier, he death stare you until you crap your pants. So
exactly.
I know it's just too nice. It seems like it's always too nice. And the captains are a big part of turning losses around by keeping everybody accountable. It's not always the coach's job. Like my buddy got fired there, Travis Green. Well, at some point, the team's got to be accountable for how they're playing, and that's having a good, strong leadership group and turning a team around is the captains on the team.
For sure. And when the media was making a big deal out of that, of Connor McDavid yelling at a couple of players on the bench in that series, for myself,
as much as that series was so sad, and I don't even want to think back on it, the only positive that came out of there, I was so excited to see McDavid giving it to those guys and kind of stepping into that role, because, and unfortunately, I think it was such a shock to a lot of the players to see that out of him, because they'd never really seen it before. At least maybe behind closed doors they do, but he's just never been that publicly forward with that type of thing. I was really excited to see it. I think you need that, right? Like, I think re-listen to our first episode we talked about that, of like kind of the Oilers and leadership, and that's what they need, and how they've kind of put their eggs in the basket of, they want to let that leadership core they have become the leadership core and grow with it and let them learn how to win, instead of, what we see other teams do with bringing in some proven winners. And I guess they brought in Duncan Keith this summer. I shouldn't say they haven't done that too, but it seems like more so what their dynamic is they want those guys, the Draisaitl's, the Nurses, the McDavids, to be those leaders. But you got to learn some tough lessons, and that's a tough place to be. But I was so happy last year to see that he was starting to, yell at guys, get excited, because you need that, right? You hear somebody was just, again, take your second drink. Somebody was just on Spittin' Chicklets the other day talking about, Trevor Zegras, that young kid that just did that crazy Michigan pass over the net that was just blew everyone's minds. He was saying he went out, was trying to come over the blue line. He had an easy chip pass and dump in, and he tried to make a funny move on him at the blue line, lost the puck, and he came back to the bench. And Getzlaf just comes over, doesn't say a word to him, just sits right beside him and stares him dead in the eye. And he said, he didn't say anything. And I just, he said, I knew, like, I fucked up. I needed that. And I knew exactly what the message was. He didn't have to say shit. I knew I fucked up. And this is the leader coming over to the coach that didn't have to say nothing to me. I knew that. And I was like, man, I was thinking when I was listening to that, like, who is that on the Oilers that's going to go and do that? Like, I maybe there is, because you never get to see inside that locker room and that dynamic, but I just don't know who that guy is on the team. Like, that's going to be taking that.
Well, it's always been there. It's been an issue with the Oilers ever since Jason Smith, he left.
Oh, love Jason Smith.
So after they've, I don't want to say bad anything about Horkoff or Ethan, but they've had troubles having the right captain there. And having that leadership and a proven guy who's like a Getzlaf or, a guy that's, has won. Okay. This is how you lead. And, and I don't know what Connor's like either, or Draisaitl, but they're young guys, and there's lots to learn about being a leader on a team and leading the right way. Right?
Exactly.
So.
And not just young, but also the role that they're in. There's so much expected from them. And how do you explain that? Like, so much expected from lots of expectations, but in a very specific way. Of Connor's the way he plays his game is so kind of throw everyone on your back, just be dynamic, and so much concentration on that, of like just going out there and being otherworldly. It's really hard to do that and keeping that kind of focus to be able to bring that kind of shift every shift, or bring that kind of effort shift after shift, and do what he does on the ice. Maybe it's just impossible at this point with the skills he has now to also be watching for guys on the bench that need a death glare, and to watch. I imagine, and it seems like in games like this, where not that he's playing bad, but there's frustration there very clear, and you can see he's frustrated with his own game. I wonder, it seems like a guy like Crosby or Getzlaf or those type of guys, even though they have a lot of pressure on their plate for their own game, they've been able to figure out a way where they can still play their game well while not dropping any of those other responsibilities as leadership in that. And it seems like, for me, and again, like you say, no idea what the dynamic is. Sometimes it seems like they're so busy with what they need to do on the ice. Some of those leadership things are kind of more left towards the coaches and maybe some of those other guys on the team, like the Duncan Keiths of the world. Hopefully, again, you don't know. You're just kind of always guessing and picking at the outside surface to see what's happening down below. But that's the way I see it. And it's like I said, I don't want to talk shit, because I'm the happiest I've been as an Oiler fan in my whole goddamn life, maybe other than 2006. But yeah, definitely you can still see some echoes of some institutional issues with organizations.
Yeah, it's not easy being a captain. I mean, everybody wants to be the captain because but it comes with a lot of responsibility, and there's only some guys. There's not a lot of guys that are great captains.
Yeah,
and
very true.
Because it takes a lot. Like you said, you gotta play at a level that you expect that. Plus, you got to babysit. You might have to babysit another 19 guys, right? And and too many times, people think it's the role of the coach. Well, if you don't have a good, strong leadership group, you're not going to be coaching very, very long.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And it's so rare for those types of captains in the league. And when you do cement yourself as one of those guys, they're hard to get, right? Like I'm sure Buffalo still kicks himself to this day for trading O'Reilly when you see what kind of leader he's morphed into, and an amazing player to boot. You can't discount that, but like they'll have to pry him out of St. Louis with a crowbar and the big old jug of Vaseline to ever get him out of there, right? And you can say that same with Getzlaf, right? Like you'd have to throw the bank at it to get him out of Anaheim, because that team knows what he brings to them, right? And it's that makes it
That's
so
right.
hard for a team like the Oilers that would love to bring in a proven winner that has leadership like that. But with the salary cap,
you don't win without leadership.
Yeah,
that's just
it's just such a tough game. I'm curious to ask this. It kind of just I'm not sure how to ask it because it occurred to me kind of in the moment, but it seems like more and more that organizations and teams have kind of like a flavor or like a theme or like it's not just what the players they have right now. You kind of have an identity of a team. Like the Boston Bruins have a certain way they play. Like the Oilers have a certain way they play, right? Like I'm curious to that because as a fan, you can kind of see that. I'm curious as a player, when you play for an organization for a while, learn that stuff, and then you get traded to a new one. Is that something that you kind of are aware of what type of hockey that team historically has played and kind of what you're going to have to do to change your game to match that? Is that something you're not thinking about at all? Or is that something that I'm maybe reading way too much into and that's not actually a thing?
Well, I think everybody's pretty aware of what teams are like, but you go to a new team, you just kind of find where your role is going to be, right?
Yeah.
And where you fit in, and everybody fits in differently. And that's, you see the trades that go well, those players find their role quickly and see where they're, where they fit in, and they do well. And that's where you see, oh, that was a great trade. Or in other times where a guy comes in and they're not too sure where their role fits in, and maybe the coach didn't want the trade, maybe the GM made the trade. Coaches isn't playing you, and you're just like, well, why did they even trade for me? I mean, I did. That was me in Pittsburgh. They traded for me to Pittsburgh, and the coach never played any of the veteran guys. He was just playing young guys because he was like, well, we're going to be last place. Anyways. So, I said to the GM, well, why did you trade for me? He's like, well, for your leadership skills. But he goes, oh, I'll try to move. So he knew that, wasn't working. So,
and you ended up going to Detroit after that from Pittsburgh, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that team in Detroit that you got to go be a part of there was, as shitty as it probably was to get traded to Pittsburgh and then not to get to play it, but how it worked out in the end to the type of team. And maybe that's something I could add, like when you talk about themes and historically of what a team brings to that, Detroit is probably one of those ones that's the apex of that, of what, as a fan, you envision to be, what are just the history that's there and the type of players that were there when you went there. Was that I'm curious, maybe when you got that call and you knew you were going to Detroit with the team they had, what was that feeling like? Was that one of the best phone calls?
I was ecstatic. Things weren't going, and I needed to get out of Edmonton. I wasn't doing well at all. And I needed a fresh start. And then when Pittsburgh was, they were just in a bad position. And then, going to Detroit, they had the best team in the league. And so, I was ecstatic. Couldn't believe it. And it was a good phone call for sure. Unfortunately, the Oilers beat us. I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it to this day that we lost. You go through that whole lineup and you're just like, holy crap. But it's, the guys just weren't ready to win yet, like Zetterberg, Datsuk. Those guys just hadn't lost yet, right? And losing to the Oilers, taught them a lot of hard lessons. And next thing you know, they won a couple cups after, right? So
dominantly too, like that. The lessons that the difference between that team that year to the next couple of years was night and day of what they learned. And I shouldn't say that because they're pretty dominant to begin with, but like just they looked damn near unstoppable after that. Right? Like that was some fun hockey to watch. And I think that was for me as a kid, that 06 run that the Oilers had, that was kind of, I was a pretty young guy, but that was so entertaining and so enthralling that the next couple seasons you're really watching and you're understanding the game a bit more as you're getting older. That was kind of the first couple teams that I got to watch at an age that I understood what I was processing and how amazing it was those Detroit teams, and just watching Datsuk out there looking like no one we'd ever seen. Right. Like it was pretty fun as a young guy to take that all in. I can't imagine being able to have that opportunity to step in there. I don't want to keep you too long. I want to let you go, but I want to make sure I wanted to ask you about this last time, but we didn't quite get to it. And I'd kick myself if I didn't. I've over the last couple of years just fallen head over heels. Hockey will always be my favorite sport, but MMA has just completely overtaken everything. I'm obsessed with it. I watch, all these interview shows all week leading up. I watch every card. I don't miss a fight. I know every storyline. And, I think a part of that comes from, fighting was always a part of hockey, and I came into that. But I always kind of envisioned when I saw fighters in the ice, I thought that, guys that fight, they probably fought their whole life. And now that I'm learning more about the game and how players' careers advance, that's usually not the case. And it's usually a certain time where, fighting is just kind of a thing that happens once in a while. It's fun. It pumps the boys up when you see it happen. But for yourself, was there ever a point in your career where fighting changed, where you started, training a little bit, doing any boxing on the side to kind of learn about it, where you knew that was kind of a role that you might have to take and that you took it more seriously? Was that kind of when you went to like the U of A, or was that like when you got to the show? I'm curious when fighting took a turn to be taken more serious for yourself in your game. At what level?
Well, to be honest, I didn't fight very much. There was definitely pressure. I felt pressure from coaches to fight because, being a big guy, but that just wasn't in my genetics. I really had to work at being, tough on the ice. Physical, but I can be honest with you, I was scared to fight. Like some of these guys,
everybody is
flipping tough. And I guess that's what I didn't realize back then. I'm like, I look at some guys and I go, oh man, those guys really love to fight. But as you get older and you see all the issues that they've had, and you watch those shows, I don't know if you've seen Ice Guardians, I mean, you watch these shows and these guys were just as scared as I was. It didn't hit me until I was done. Like everybody's scared to fight. You just keep throwing until you fall down, right? But it wasn't my genetics to be really, really tough. Like it's funny because my oldest brother was a goon in the Western League. Like he loved to fight. He's 62 now. He'd still fight you if you asked him to. Like he just loved it. And I always wish I had some of his toughness. If I could have his toughness and my skills, I would have made a lot more money. But but I know it's definitely changed, and I'm glad it's changed.
It'll always have a role, but it needed to change.
But back when I played, nobody knew about the issues these guys were having, or the problems that they're going to have after their careers. And I mean, all the guys that have had issues, right? And suicide and brain problems. And I mean, it's a long list of guys. Right. And so I see fights now. I enjoy them. I enjoy watching them, but I cringe at when they're fighting. And, but it is exciting. I mean, be honest with you, like I still like a good fight, but I'm like, if that's my son, that's my son, I got a hard time seeing my son start playing bantam hockey with him. And I get nervous for him, right? And I'm like, I don't particularly want him dropping his gloves and scrapping somebody, right?
For sure.
But it is a part of it, and I don't know if it'll ever go away. I don't.
I think it has a place in that game. It fits a certain role. And I think that role, for people that understand the game, they know what it is. And I think we probably push that a little bit far at certain times in the league and push it outside of where that role or the role it's just changed over the years of where it needs to be. And it's kind of refined itself to be more of a niche than maybe, a lever to pull for half the teams. Oh, we're sucking right now. Well, let's just sign a couple meat sticks and change the dynamic of what it's going to be like to come play in this barn, right? Which we saw a ton of over the years for sure.
And I don't like the chippiness of the games. Like, that's one thing that the fighting did alleviate. There was no stick work.
Yeah.
There's no crap, like no slew foots. There's, you're slew footing a guy, you're getting the crap kicked out of you. I mean, every team back when I had 2 to 3 guys that were flipping, really tough.
Yeah.
So the game police itself, there wasn't any of that bullshit that you see some of these guys doing now.
Yeah.
Because you knew you'd have to answer the bell. For sure.
And I think you start to see some of the crazier things you see over the last probably last 20 years, really, of just and getting more so as you get closer to current day, of some of the craziness that you're seeing out on the ice, biting and all these stuff. And sure, you'd see that before, but I think you're right about that built-in accountability system that would be handled on the ice definitely prevented a lot of the things that we see happening today. And if lots of these things we've seen in the last couple of years happen 20 years ago, it'd be a much different scenario out there of how it was handled. That's for sure.
Oh, 100%. Like, you didn't get away with too much stuff.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
It was always,
Oh, that's awesome. And I just want to say one more time, thanks again. I love doing this. These are so much fun, the conversations. I get so excited every time we text and we're lining one of these up. The couple days leading up to it, I'm just like a kid on Christmas. I'm so excited to ask all these questions, talk about the game I love with someone that played at the highest level. That means a lot to me, Cory. And I just want to say a real genuine thank you. I love doing this with you. It's so much fun. And I can't wait to hopefully do it with you many more times over the years.
Sounds good, Nick. Anytime.
All right. Thanks. You have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. Hey.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right, there it is, 115 in the books. Another great episode with another great guy. Special thanks to Cory Cross for giving me his time again. Like I mentioned in the intro, it just means the world to me, and it means the world to me that you guys come on and listen, and all the messages, all that stuff. That's all great. If you could keep it up, I'd really appreciate it. All the little things, the messages, following the social media channels, following the YouTube page, leaving comments, leaving likes, those things all really go a long way. And most important of all, just word of mouth. If you do enjoy the podcast, please tell them with someone you know. If you have a friend that you know likes podcasts, just pass it on to them. They might never be able to listen, but maybe they do, and maybe that's another loyal follower that I'll get in my back pocket that will allow me to bring on bigger and bigger guests and really, chase my dreams down. So thank you guys so much for that. I hope you had a wonderful holiday. I hope you guys enjoy a little bit of World Junior Hockey. That's where I was in between recording the intro and the outro here, was just watching Canada beat up on Czechia. That was pretty fun to watch that young Connor Bedard in action. I was really excited for it. I always look forward to these World Junior tournaments every year. It's just a special time, and then you get to pay dividends of the time you put in watching these junior tournaments when you get to watch these kids in a couple of years just dominating out on the NHL, and you can say, hey, I remember watching him do this or that on the junior tournament. Just always a good time. Always happy for me. What the hell? I can't even talk. You know what that's a sign of? I need to go hop in the hot tub. So that's what I'm about to do. You guys have a great week, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.